state is harder to get than national. So then I have to go through all the in-person tests, in-person interviews, long state application.
Still have my anything from that I know about my dad. I filled it out twice now. Sent me a picture. What they said, they wrote back and said that we'll have the information for you, we'll send it to you, and they never did. Twice.
Big weight. Yes.
Since I was using, I even have paper articles in the paper from when they had his 25th reunion.
That's exactly how we got Andrew's grandfather through his race, but it was before COVID. Pretty cool. Slowed down because of COVID.
Call on you or Felicia to provide that information from the email.
That's why.
Kind of messy right now.
Yeah, Paula already has her paperwork in, but she's waiting for me.
Did Paul address you again?
No, I did this. She was doing like they want Paula to do some design work for flags.
Yeah.
She's working on that. I want to be a part of it.
You'll get there. Don't worry.
Starting the meeting without me?
Nope.
He's trying to
I
step.
see him jump in the gun.
Nope, didn't happen. That might have gotten on YouTube though.
Yeah.
What's
The
that?
light is on.
Again.
Yep. Everybody's like, let's start this meeting.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Katie, how are you?
I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
I know, yeah. 93.
Wow.
Hope I get 93.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in me for that. Not after this year. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call the Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021, City of Oldsmar City Council meeting to order. The first two items on the agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance, which will be led by our city attorney, Mr. Tom Trask. If everyone could please rise. I would ask prior to Tom giving the invocation that we have a couple moments of silence and honoring Deputy Michael Magley, who we recently lost in the line of duty. Thank you. Tom?
Our Heavenly Father, we come humbly before you in a time of sorrow. The death of Deputy Michael Magley burdens our hearts, a burden shared throughout the city of Oldsmar. We pray that you will comfort his wife Stephanie and their children Madeline and Reagan, and welcome Michael into your heavenly kingdom. We are hopeful that your grace and love will be with the Magley family and those present here tonight who share in their pain and loss. This we pray. Amen.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Before we go on in the agenda, I just wanted to remind everybody that we are following the CDC guidelines. We'd ask that you keep your mask on and try to social distance. If you're at the podium and you wish to, it's optional. You could take it off at that time so you could speak clear. We're spread out up here, so most of us keep it off because we talk a lot and it's just easier to understand what we're saying. All right? Very good. So the next item on the agenda is the Citizens Open Forum. We only have a few rules. Number one, that keep your comments to 5 minutes. We ask that you give your name with your address and include the city you're from. We also ask that you don't speak to any item on the agenda that we'll address later as a public hearing. And the only item we have as a public hearing tonight is item number 8. And with that, I will go ahead and see, is there anybody on this side of the room who wishes to speak in the Citizens Open Forum? Come on up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Estrella Lastre. I live at 106 St. Petersburg Drive East in Oldsmar. In 2004, Noah Lagos, the director for the St. Petersburg Clearwater Airport, came to the city board and he gave a presentation about upcoming changes and an expansion that was planned. As part of their presentation, they included a noise study for the city. Now at that time, council member Jim Broniker asked a very important question. He asked how the phenomenal growth the airport is experiencing would affect the flight paths of planes flying over the city of Oldsmar. Mr. Lagos said that he couldn't predict the future. Well, in the 16 years since that presentation, much has changed. Oldsmar now experiences overhead flights during all times of the day and night. According to data from live flight tracking websites, planes heading to and from the St. Petersburg Clearwater Airport are often flying much lower than the height that is required by the FAA. The airport does have voluntary quiet hours wherein flights are to be avoided between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. daily, but this is not a mandatory program because flights might get delayed because cities might have storms and other reasons like that. Yet despite clear weathers in departing cities, flights continue to land during the voluntary quiet hours, which makes it feel like this program is not being enforced to any degree, and rather it's a program that makes the appearance of working with the community. Now that same airport has a noise abatement task force, which documents complaints received and holds quarterly meetings. As of this evening, their meeting minutes from the January meeting is still not posted, so it makes it difficult for me to cite the exact figures, but for reference, in May of 2005, almost a year after that presentation that the city had, they had a total of 149 complaints. But by comparison, in October of 2020, there were a total of 1,493 complaints. So that's a 902% increase in the amount of people complaining about the flights going over their town. Oldsmar citizens, including myself, have issued complaints to the Noise Abatement Task Force. We've kept logs, we've attended meetings, and there's still no progress or change being made on this issue. Now, noise abatement noise study to occur that is reflective of today's flight pattern over Oldsmar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else on this side of the room? Come on up.
Greetings, council members. My name is Dallas Rose, resident of Oldsmar for 30 years, 600 Buckingham Avenue West. I'm one of the citizens in our neighborhood. There's 15 of us or so that have been talking about these occurrences over our homes. It's been happening for about 4 years now. We've been talking to the Clearwater Airport, trying to resolve it. All we get are just excuses. We were working with Linda Norris at the airport too. Up to last year, we had some progress in January. I had the meeting minutes here, and we were suggesting see what they did. They moved it from Safety Harbor over to us, which I don't think is fair. So what I suggested is we move it into a neutral area, like a commercial zone, which would be like forced out of a residential area. It's not near schools. I see them flying over Oldsmar Elementary, my house, the buses. It's ridiculous. So they talked about it last year, and then COVID hit, and it went to nowhere. And so here we stand now, and the flights are starting to pick up again. Working with, there's a couple of my neighbors in the audience tonight that I'd like them to speak to. Some of my people couldn't come. I'm kind of like the complain campaign chairman. You know? And I don't want to be. I don't want to complain.
Yeah.
I understand Andrew's going to help us now with the airport officials.
Yeah, I'll comment on it after we get.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Linda was doing a good job, and then COVID hit, and it all just stopped. It was nice not to have the flights over houses, because these occur like all day. Sunday, we had over 20 flights over our residences, and they're supposed to be at 1,700 feet. They were 1,500 feet. My wife logs these all the time. She keeps records of all these. So they're not making any progress with our complaints. It's just not fair, but anyway, that's, I like the city to take some, if we could work out something with the safety harbor, something more equal, with the three of us, the safety harbor, Oldsmar, and airport would be great. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else on this side of the room? All right, anybody on this side of the room? Go right ahead.
My name is Grace Babukis. I live at 302 Park Boulevard in downtown. First, I'm just going to explain the situation of what brings me here today. Most of you know the social media app Nextdoor. Its purpose is to connect residents of a neighborhood with everything from restaurant reviews to utility outages and then some. On February 17th, there was a post by an Oldsmar resident concerning youth riding bikes into oncoming traffic around Lafayette and Shore. This has become, over the last several weeks, a very active conversation on Nextdoor. Sometimes constructive, sometimes combative, very controversial. I'm not here to represent anybody else. I'm just here to talk about my feelings on the topic, and we'll end with a request or recommendation. The majority of the post did not object to the teenagers riding their bikes the way they do. Most of the posts were concerned about the teens' safety because many of them do not have reflective clothing on or lights on the bikes. The minority of posts, but they have a voice too, simply say if these youths are not following traffic regulations, simply issue citations and shut it down. Okay, so a little bit of background. What these teens are doing is called wheeling. It's an offshoot of the sport of cycling. It has similarities to trick cycling in that the rider is always on the back wheel with the front wheel way up in the air. Something called swerving. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just listening to all the posts. Swerving is when the rider of the bicycle approaches an oncoming car, kind of like playing chicken, as we used to call it when I was a kid. Some parents say, that's not the majority of the kids, they don't do it. Other people say that's what they're doing down here in downtown. I don't know. I have seen the kids, as a matter of fact, on my way here, there were 5 of them, right? But they were fine. They weren't coming into me, they weren't,
Swerving?
No, no swerving. They stayed in the lane on the opposite side. There was no cursing at me, which also apparently is a controversial issue. So I'm not here one way or the other to say what all entails in wheeling, because I'm not a parent or a grandparent of a child in the sport. But I know that St. Pete and Tampa, when the kids get together and have ride-outs, as they're called, we're talking 250 to 300 teenagers at one time. So right now, downtown in Oldsmar, it's a small group. But I remember when snowboarders were far and few between. They were the pot-smoking thugs on the snow hills, right? And now it's an Olympic sport. So we don't know. I mean, this is a sport that might be here for a really long time and might really grow in our community. Okay, so I know I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to speed up here. So here's my opinions. We have a group of youth that can potentially grow in size that want to wheel. Safety to both the teens and the drivers is important. That's a core value to us, to me. Courtesy, maybe they're right, I don't know. But I've been a nurse for 35 years and I don't want to see a kid down on the road and an ambulance in front of my house. I think we all can agree with that. My request, my opinion to the city council and the staff city management is to convene a group to meet, to talk about the issue, to set parameters for what happens on our downtown streets or parking lots, because apparently Walmart parking lot is also becoming very popular with the kids. I think the group should include citizens, parents, the teens themselves, law enforcement, especially community policing, which is part of the sheriff's department. This is what they're for. And I can envision a forum that includes law enforcement and the sheriff's office, maybe to help provide LED lights for the wheels, for the kids that can't afford them. Community policing can redirect unwanted behaviors, avoiding the citations and the confrontation that can happen. I envision maybe involving our own bike shop right here on Washington and Tampa Road to be a part of this process, because I'm sure the kids go there for supplies. Maybe a monthly ride out where we can give the teens one of our major streets for an hour or two so that they can really have fun on it. In the end, I think that I want to create something for the youth so they can come back to raise their own children in Oldsmar, because we cared about them and we supported them and we stayed up with the times instead of being late to the show. I can envision children that could potentially be marginalized now becoming part of a local solution. Okay, I had a few more sentences, but that's fine.
Go ahead and finish your sentence.
And learning that they can be empowered to make constructive changes from the grassroots level. I know there are parents on the app that want to see this happen, and I would be willing to volunteer to be part of the group. And I know this sounds rather emphatic for something that's just about bicycles, but downtown development isn't just about real estate and breweries and rooftop bars. It's about community and people, including our youth. And the alternative is to just let the parents work on it, let the issue kind of go away, and just pray that nobody gets hurt. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have anybody else on this side of the room? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this.
One more.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see you over there.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name is Tanya Digman. I live in 602 Clarendon Street, and I am coming also to talk about the same topic as Miss Grace. I just want to represent the parents of the kids. My child is one of the kids that is being not serving, but riding the bicycle in the streets. And all I can say is that the only way that we can solve this issue is educating the parents, the people who's behind the wheel, the car, because we're talking about a huge vehicle against a child who's riding a bicycle. So if we focus on talking to our kids and give them guidance on what they need to do, how to keep safety as the primary focus of their sport, we can accomplish a lot. Like Ms. Grace said, we don't want to take this sport away from the kids. In reality, this is what is keeping our beautiful city bringing more people, because the parks that we have, I've been here for about 2 years. I just bought this house, and that was one of the reasons why I bought this house, because of the roads, because of the parks. But if we're going to start limiting the youth on what to do and what not to do because we want to have a quiet town, it's not going to work. They are going to do it anyways. They are going to do it in our backs, and that's going to become a confrontation between neighbors, citizens, kids. Right now, all of them know that I'm here because I've been sticking up for them. And my first request to all the kids was, if somebody is rude or disrespect towards you, please be kind. Just respond in a respectful manner and tell them, we apologize for the inconvenience. We will try not to do this again. But it has to be all about communication. That's the reason I brought my son-in-law. He is a professional cyclist, and he has plenty of experience about cycling and accidents and stuff, and I would like just to give him an opportunity to talk and present his point of view. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just wanted to,
Can you give
David
name and
Guttenplan,
name and address, please?
106 Shore Drive, and I just wanted to kind of echo everybody's sentiment. I think this is awesome. One of my favorite parts about this neighborhood is that the kids can actually ride around and be in the street and not get hit. I've traveled all over the world, raced my bike in a million different countries, and you know, the cities where you've got the ability to ride your bike as a kid is probably where you want to live with kids. You know, you don't want to be in a neighborhood where the kids can't ride in the street. So I can echo the sentiment that we really do need to maybe put on some safety events, try to give out some bike lights. I know Bike Walk Tampa Bay is a local organization that does on-the-street education that I used to work for, and that could be an opportunity to talk to them. I was just asked like 6:45, so I haven't talked to anybody. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
You're doing a good job for 6:45. Doing good.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I love riding my bike. It's great, and it fills my heart to see all these kids riding around and doing whatever, you know, maybe they'll be the next Lance Armstrong that doesn't use drugs. You know, you got to start somewhere. I know I always liked racing. So, you know, I appreciate all of your support, and obviously, you know, drive around, pay attention when you're in your car. And if you see a cyclist or a kid riding, all I ask is, you know, maybe slow down, give them some space. So if God forbid they fall over, you won't run them over. Don't, you know, you could take a left-hand turn and go right again and then make another left-hand turn. And guess what? There's no issue. You lost 10 seconds. Obviously, I'm going to tell them if there's a car behind you and you can get over and let them go around you, great. But at the end of the day, we live in a community where the speed limit is what, 25 miles an hour? Like, what's the big rush? You know, you go over to Main Street and that's where you can go fast on 580. So I think we're all on the same side here, and I think it's awesome that they're bringing this to attention. You know, I think a lot of the negative comments on that post were from out of Oldsmar. You know, I think there were people that don't live here. So
That happens, I hear, quite a bit.
yeah. So hopefully together we can kind of turn this into a positive. I think that's one of the best things that we got going in Oldsmar, you know?
Very good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? I'm going to go ahead and close the citizens open forum. Just a couple of comments, and I'm going to allow Andrew to kind of address first on the air traffic. I live, by the way, right over by Ariel's Park on the bay, so I can appreciate the noise right there. So in any event, let me just give some history as well, and I appreciate you giving some real dated history there. I remember when they were discussing changing all the patterns. I actually went as a council member to Tampa International when they had the FAA there, who was presenting, taking feedback, and they did take feedback, and our concern was the same then as it was back when Councilmember Roniker made the comments as it has been today, and that is we're concerned about the amount of noise pollution that it creates. And I know that Councilmember Norris, we've as a city, we have played an active role. I want to make sure our citizens know that we see it as a problem, and it's a difficult problem to get a lot of action on, but you have to be there to be seen. And so I know Linda worked on it a lot, and then now Andrew has stepped up, as this is Linda's last meeting tonight on council. By the way, congratulations.
Thank you. I'd like to address it as
I'm gonna
well.
let you do it, and then I'll toss it to him. Have you attended a meeting yet?
I called into the last one.
I see. All right, well, if you want to spend a minute or two.
Yeah, that was my last one, and he listened in.
The overlap.
Yeah,
Very
so he
good.
could see. So
Transition.
I volunteered to be on that board a couple years ago when they did the FAA thing, because I had seen a lot of the complaints, and of course I hear them over my house as well, and Dallas and some of these people that are here are neighbors of mine. And so we did make progress. We made progress on the, small progress on the complaints, progress on the way that we could do it. We were trying to get the navigational points where they can start having the planes come down lower, moved farther out. But the biggest progress that we made right before COVID was they agreed to do a study on moving the pattern that comes pretty much right over us and split the difference between us and Safety Harbor. But what they were going to do is they were going to do a study to see how many homes that would affect, because it might not affect us as much, but it might affect more homes in that. And then it all just kind of stopped with COVID. So we were making progress. It's not that they aren't, I understand you guys' frustration, and I think it's great that all of the residents are here addressing concerns. That's what democracy is all about. But I know they want to work with us. It's slow, and I agree that having more input from the council. I'm not going to be there whatever you guys decide to do, but they are willing to work with us. They are. So
Well, maybe the answer then is to, continue to press to get the study done and get it actually completed, obviously.
yeah, because if it comes over like the Tarpon Outfall Canal, but if they go over the commercial district, Douglas, and everything else, then it's going to affect all you guys more on the other side of.
Yeah.
So it's going to affect people no matter what. And they were gonna do a study to see what path would affect the least amount of homeowners.
Andrew, you have anything you want to add here?
I just was going to say that, I appreciate being thought of as being able to have the opportunity to step up, and did have a chance to speak with Kay. And, I have a real interest in wanting to eventually be able to fly myself. And I always find myself looking up in the sky and looking on my phone with different apps to see where that plane's coming from. So just have a real passion for flight, and I think would, be beneficial. I like the idea of seeing if they can go right down the outfall canal path. I've flying into different airports. They can do all kinds of navigational maneuvers, and I think generally the path they take right now, getting into that airport, is pretty much a straight shot. So I look forward to exploring those options and hopefully finding some even better middle ground. I'm
Well,
excited
I'll just-
about the opportunity.
Okay, and just so you know, I guess the point is to say that we're still working on it. I think COVID did have an impact on the progress we made. I will also tell you something personally. I'm a student pilot, and I fly out of that airport, right? And so, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I wanted to fly over City Hall. I just thought it'd be cool. They wouldn't let me. They would not let me. It's like up and out out over there immediately. And so obviously the commercial aircrafts, but this area that we're in has multiple controlled airspaces, which really has an impact on flight patterns, because you have, Whitehead, you have, of course, Clearwater, St. Pete, you have Tampa, and then you have McDill too.
Davis Island, too.
And Davis Island.
The
And
small
is Davis
municipal
Island
one
a
in
control?
Clearwater.
Davis Island is a control.
Yeah.
So the controlled airspace is a significant factor, and we're probably, sadly, one of the few that have that many different control towers, and it makes it certainly more difficult, not impossible, certainly where maybe it could be made more tolerable, but in any event, I didn't want anyone to think that we weren't seriously concerned about it. We are.
Right,
Let me
Mayor,
shoot-
there's one more thing,
Okay.
Just in case y'all were curious as to why there's been an increase in the past week, the Air Force did you get the notice that the Air Force was doing
Maneuvers.
maneuvers? The Air Force was doing maneuvers, and it was supposed to end yesterday, just in case you noticed a
Did
lot of
that-
military aircraft.
Yeah, did it include the Coast Guard with them?
It was the Air Force will be conducting exercises throughout the state, blah, blah, blah. Air Force. Oh, Coast Guard, U.S. Army and Coast Guard will be
Because
participating.
our hangar is next to the Coast Guard's. And you're doing pre-check out there, and it's been nothing but this for a while, so, in any event. All right, let me move on to the other item that was raised. And let me ask a question first of our city manager, and this might be more to the deputies. Have we received a larger number of complaints than normal on this issue? Yes, if you could. One complaint.
I've already reached out to Deputy Tucko, the policing deputy. He
Okay.
said there was one complaint called in to the sheriff's office, and it was in the evening hours, and that was it. There's been no other complaints and no other mention of this.
So is it possible then, I would think, anything to City Hall that you're aware of?
Felicia and I observed it one evening where they just took one of our cones and put it in the middle of the street, and we're doing all that stuff, but I didn't see them interact with any traffic.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I am so glad that Grace and folks, you came tonight to put a name on this for me. I am not aware of the Nextdoor thread. However, I thought I was insane because I've seen these kids. I've seen the same group essentially on Lafayette. I live on Lafayette. I travel State Street constantly to City Hall and back. And I've experienced it both ways. In the last 4 weeks, I'd say there's probably been 5 or 6 interactions. Unfortunately, I can report that 2 of them were very negative interactions. I was driving towards City Hall from Lafayette on State Street, and one of the younger gentlemen in particular did that motion on one wheel and swerved directly into my lane of traffic. I became very alarmed. I did not know that it was a sport or what they were doing. I just stopped. I just stopped my van. And then he made some gestures.
He was waving to you.
It was not a wave.
Was using one finger.
It was not a wave. And screamed at me. And I just thought, you know, well, kids are kids, you know, I did some stupid stuff when I was a kid too. So I just kind of forgot about it. And then last council meeting, it happened again on the way to the council meeting. And this second one was similar. And I actually think it might have been the same gentleman who pulled that same maneuver. And this time I was at the stop sign between Washington and I guess what you would call Fairfield. And again, I just stopped and I didn't look over this time. I didn't hear any noises, but I did see some gesturing. Tonight, on the way to the council meeting tonight, I saw what I believe to be the same group of kids. They did some of the same maneuvers, but stayed in the left lane as I was in, you know, the right lane coming down State Street. There was no dangerous maneuvers, no gesturing. So I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is, you know, a couple of bad actors or maybe something that we can talk about. I had no idea that it was a sport. I had no idea that, you know, this is something that they need room to do. I would be very interested in participating in a conversation about it. I thank you for bringing it to our attention tonight. I'm shocked that it had a name.
Yeah, and you know, I like I said, I live over here as well, and I've seen the kids out in groups riding their bikes. I've seen them doing, you know, I'm old, they call it wheelies, you know, and so, you know, and I've never had a bad experience other than like, oh man, I hope you don't bite it, you know. And so I haven't had a bad experience, and I've, you know, they've just kind of moved off to the side, going down Shore Drive.
Sure.
You know, and what I think might be appropriate, and I'd ask the city manager's thoughts on this, and maybe an appropriate starting place would be for our leisure services board to take a look at, is there, you know, is it leisure services? Is this a leisure services thing, or is this a public safety thing? You know, where's, maybe it's somewhere in between. I don't know, but I would ask that maybe staff go take a look at that as a starting place.
Or perhaps.
Leisure services, right?
Yes.
And so I would still go right back to leisure services. I
Add
don't know
that to the agenda.
Yeah.
Lucky
know.
you, Chip.
Yeah. All right, because that's the right place for it to go, and they can look at what assets we have, and maybe there's something else we can do. All right, well, that was a longer than usual citizens open.
They're teenagers. They're not like 10, 11 years old.
All right, let me, I'm gonna, we gotta keep it up to the microphone at the podium. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Next item on the agenda is Community Minute, which will be announced by our city clerk, Ann Nixon.
All right, so speaking of fun things to do, this Friday is Movie in the Park. Friday, March 5th at 7 o'clock, Ari Olds Park. Family-friendly free movie, Iron Giant. Social distancing observed. Maximum 8 people per group. Golf cart parking available, weather permitting. And then the Oldsmar Teen Focus Group, which Vice Mayor Gannon brought up earlier, will be meeting Saturday, March 6th at 11 o'clock a.m. via Zoom. Oldsmar teens 13 to 17 are encouraged to register for a teen focus group to create opportunities and just for teen programs with city staff. Registration is required, and that's 813-749-1152. And then, well, if you want to go do something, go fly a kite. Kite Day, Saturday, March 13th, 10 to 1 p.m. at Sheffield Park. Grab your kids, neighbors, and friends for a free family fun adventure flying kites. You can make your own with materials provided or bring your own, weather permitting.
Weather permitting. You said that with too much enthusiasm. I'm saying it was a little bit concerning. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of addition of new agenda items. We have item 2, 3, 4, 9, 12, and 13. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a
Second.
motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. We have nothing under awards and recognition, which that almost deserves an award all in itself. Ooh, yes, he did. All right, Community Redevelopment Agency, we have a few items under there. Item number 1, approved minutes of the February 11th, 2021 Economic Development Work Session. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Everybody read over those? Okay, good. Senton, you're ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. All right, the next two items that we have on the agenda is to consider some of the concept plans that had been presented to us for the property next door that we affectionately call the City Hall property. And if it is the pleasure of this council, here's how I would suggest that we approach this, keeping in mind that what we'll be doing, since we don't have a deal with either one of these groups, which means they still have to go through a negotiation process with the city managers and our negotiation team, that what we would do is we would consider what's been presented one at a time. We will essentially be able to say, hey, we like this, direct our city manager and their team to go negotiate. It may be that we like both and they go negotiate. It may be that we don't like either one of them, or it might be that our comments lead to, we like it, but we'd like it looking a little bit more like this. Is everyone good with that? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and on to item 2, which is consideration of concept plan submitted by Prime Hospitality Group. Is Prime here?
No, sir.
They are not here. Okay, and do we have any presentation on this from staff?
No, sir, they submitted, same thing they submitted the first time.
Very good. All right. Well, at this time, for the purpose of discussion, the chair will entertain a motion to approve. Dies for lack of motion, we'll go on to item number 3. Consider the concept plan submitted by Woodfield Development LLC for the city-owned property located east of City Hall. I know that they are here. I noticed that they walked in. What I would do is, I don't believe there was any material change to their presentation, but I would allow them a few minutes to speak, if they wish to.
Good evening, council members. Ryan Stadzinski, Woodfield Development. No material changes from what we presented to you guys from the workshop a few weeks earlier. Happy to entertain any additional questions you may have related to it, but otherwise, yeah, excited to hopefully be able to move this forward.
Very good. Is there any questions of the developer before we get into discussion up here? Before we have a motion for discussion? Any questions? Well, I do.
Mayor.
Yeah, okay, go right ahead.
I just wanted to read before I asked it, because I did ask the city manager
Earlier, and he wasn't entirely sure, and I'm sure it's gonna come up as part of the negotiation process. But as far as this phase 2 goes, where does the kind of level of commitment lie currently related to that part of the project? Because I know obviously the original focus was phase 1, the whole residential, but as far as the hotel, if it's a hotel versus something else, what are your thoughts on that?
At this point, we are certainly willing to pursue the hotel development. As we disclosed previously, we are not hotel developers, so we would ultimately need to bring in a hotel partner for that. But in terms of commitment level, I would say we would certainly be committing to parking for the hotel as part of our project. So there's a commitment from that standpoint, and we would be looking to work with staff to help facilitate any approvals that might be needed through Forward Pinellas in order to ensure that's effectively teed up, if you will, to just streamline the hopeful bringing on of an ultimate hotel development.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, any questions?
Not for the applicant, no, sir, thank you.
No, Mayor.
No, sir.
Okay, I could have sworn that in the original submission that you had at one point, that there was what was being called the car museum, which in effect was really more kind of a public display that the vehicles could have been changed in and out of. Was that omitted for a specific reason? Was it space? Was it, I'm just curious.
It was just a concept idea for what potentially could be utilized for that ground floor commercial space that we're proposing along State Street, obviously recognizing the roots of the city founding and so forth.
Got it. And I had a question, and this might be much further down the path, but it's worth talking about now. In your proposal, where the entrance, you have two different, I'm assuming there are two different entrances, maybe one's just an entrance and one's an exit for the parking structure. It would be interesting to see if there would be a way within that parking structure that you create almost like a breezeway that goes through from where the hotel area will ultimately be and that retail on that side coming over to where the city park would be. Is that something that is possible? I know you don't have like a green space to be able to make that connection. And I just wondered if it was something that would be possible within the parking structure.
I would have to study that further, but my initial response would be probably not. There's typical dimensions that are associated with the parking design for efficiency and with the precast manufacturers typically designed towards. So you have a standard parking length or depth, and then you've got a standard drive aisle, and each bay is kind of at that roughly 60-foot dimension. So incorporating something like that would likely be difficult. But to answer your, or clarify just your other comment, both of those would be entrance and exits.
Very good. You know, when we had the workshop the other day, I think I had expressed, and I think a couple others had expressed, a desire to see more retail, specifically as it bordered the park. And I noticed that in your revised submission that you decided not to make any changes to it.
That's correct. And at this point, what we're prepared to commit to is the total amount of retail that we're proposing in the project. You know, ultimately, we're open to designing whatever is most appealing to the end users and whether they potentially would want to see an additional portion of that that's more oriented towards Tampa Road and the park in the northwest quadrant. You know, we're certainly open to exploring that, but I would tell you that just anecdotally, what I know about what a lot of you may be familiar with, West Park Village, over in West Chase. The spaces that are on the wings of those along Linebaugh tend to be the most challenged in terms of being able to continue to maintain a tenant in. And so what the concern would be is that there's no vehicular visibility other than flying by on Tampa Road, and will retail or commercial tenants want to be oriented in that spot, and would it actually be desirable space from an end user standpoint? So I'm not a retail expert per se either, so we would ultimately obviously engage a retail leasing broker to help facilitate all that, and we can certainly present different scenarios once we've had an opportunity to discuss that further with some retail folks.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you. All right, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve for the purpose of discussion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the conceptual plan submitted by Woodfield Development LLC for the city-owned property located east of City Hall.
And to direct, for the purpose of directing.
And direct the city manager to go into negotiations.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second.
Second, I'll second.
a motion and a
Got
second.
3 seconds.
Which was in our second.
Enthusiastic
All right.
second.
So as the maker of the motion, I'm gonna let you go first.
Mayor, honestly, I've been studying this project, and I think after talking with Al and Felicia this week on the project, I am actually excited about the opportunity to see what Woodfield comes up with the city, and I think this is going to be a great project for our city, Mayor.
Very good. Councilmember Norris.
I too love it, and I had the same, I was curious too. I thought that having some kind of retail by the park would be advantageous for the people that come to the park, but you explained it very well. I mean, if you can't get a tenant, then it's gonna be wasted retail. So that, I think it just ticks all the boxes that we want, and that I think is the best use for the citizens of Oldsmar as well, not just for the people that are gonna live there, but for the people that live in all of Oldsmar who are gonna be able to enjoy this. So, I like it.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
I echo the sentiments of council members Norris and Saraki, very well stated. I love the design as I expressed during the meeting. I like the step back to make it a natural transition from the businesses across the street. I look forward to what's to come. This is extraordinarily exciting. I like the space that's been left for a park for the city. I hadn't thought of that, it would be difficult to maintain a retail tenant in that corner spot there near the garage. But yeah, that does make sense, and it makes sense that a retailer would want to have access to like parking spots and things right out front there. That kind of makes sense to me. I cannot express enough how much I appreciate the research that has been done in presenting this, not only tonight, but at the work session that we had. I was very impressed with the research done with Forward Pinellas and the efforts that they put into making sure that this fits our city and our feeling of community. I am, like I said, enthusiastically second.
There you go. All right. Councilmember Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I was just very impressed by the way things were put together, the research that was done on this. Myself, particularly kind of on the topic of the retail fronting the park, I can see how that would be a problem. It doesn't really get the best exposure relative to the way the roads are set up there. I think the best people that are going to see it is people merging from 2 to 1 lane going eastbound on 580. That might be about it.
Yeah.
And to use from others' presentations, there's going to be other ways that we can activate that space. You know, they showed the rendering of the food trucks shutting down State Street. Nothing says that can't spill over into the park, or have a farmer's market or a craft fair in the park. So there's other ways that we're going to be able to suck people in off of State Street into that park.
Yeah.
And behind City Hall. So yeah, I'm definitely not hung up on any retail being put in that northwest corner by any means. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what gets brought to the table for our consideration in the future. And that's all I have.
Very good. Well, I'll share my thoughts on it. Unfortunately, they're a little different than everyone else's. I mean, I love the large sidewalks. I think it's well designed, especially the elevation on State Street. I love the way it steps back. The big sidewalks will allow for some possible cafe type of dining, which I think our citizens want. I do love that they are going to be luxury apartments. We have a deficiency here in the city of Oldsmar for that type of product. Very quaint, walkable downtown that is a pure ghost town, right? And inevitably, when you talk to retail experts, and I have spent time talking to retail experts, right? They'll tell you, if you don't have the density for it, you're gonna end up, essentially, laying an egg, and will really be disappointed. I will tell you that some of the folks that I've spoken to, and I would ask that you go really look hard at adding retail over there for a multitude of reasons in that one quadrant. Number one, if you end up with that all being residential, and when you look at it, and specifically I asked a question today, and that park acreage, by the way, for the public, it's calculated to be 1.22 acres. All right, now that abuts right up against City Hall if you were to draw a line, well, what does that actually include, right? So, and it also goes all the way over. There is some space between the park and the residential side, but here's the problem. That 1.22, we want a park for our citizens that they can utilize, right? And if you compare it to Ariel's Park, the bandstand area that's outlined over, that's 1.6 acres. So it gives you some comparison. Well, 1.6 acres, you know, we hold some pretty nice size events over there. And I don't know that we envision having as large of events over here. So the acreage probably works out. The problem is when you're going right up to somebody's apartment, you're not going to use that, right? I mean, do you understand what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
So the park going right up to somebody's apartment is not practical. It's not going to be used. Now, you could put a berm there and do that kind of stuff, I understand. But what you lose, like an ideal scenario is a restaurant, right? You do have parking. Keep in mind, most of the parking for every one of these shops is not going to be on the street. It's going to be in the structure. So very few will have parking in front of their business on State Street. That's not the way that the program's designed. It's designed for them to go into the parking structure. They're going to need to do that to be able to have parking. So regardless of whether they're going in there to park, to walk out to State Street or walk over to the park, where hopefully we have this magnificent fountain, we have some entertainment at times, but you have a restaurant there where you now have entertainment outside the window, and I believe that it accomplishes a multitude of things. It gives you more of a walkable downtown. It's not going to give the appearance, which I'm very fearful of, that this park behind this apartment complex takes on this feeling that it belongs to the apartment complex and it's not a city park. And so you have to have something that separates that. You have to have something that makes it clear that, you know, the residential part is upstairs. It's not part of that part. And I think that there are some who are in the industry who would make that argument that that would be a much more appropriate design to have that delineation, that that is a city park, and part of that is having some type of retail or commercial there, not an apartment right there that now starts to feel like it belongs to a private complex in the market that we probably will have very little impact on other than everybody else, and that is waiting it out. That being said, I think there might be even the room within that negotiation to say, well, here's the other side of that timeline, and that is that if you can do it sooner, we would create some kind of incentive in that negotiations. And so these are some points that I mentioned. The layout, and that one layout there really, I think, is problematic. It's taken us 20 years to get all this property, and I don't want it to feel that way when we're over there and try to take our opportunity to maximize it. I will support moving forward, but I'm just being very candid in saying that that's a change that in the final analysis, I hope is made. I won't support it if it's not. I just won't. I think it's a mistake. I just think it's a big mistake. But hopefully there'll be a way that in that process that people can, figure out a way. We're talking with retail experts. Is that fair? Okay. Well, then that's fair. And I'll quit talking. All right. Any other discussion?
Just one quick thing. You know, I do understand your concern as it relates to activating that space with something like a restaurant, for example. I could see how that might be really neat, really ideal. I remember when we drew, all of us, our concept plan, a lot of us included a retail element over there. But I'm not getting everything I wanted on my map, and I know none of us are. And I think it's important to focus on that end game. And this plan has so much of what we all said we wanted and what we promised our residents. I think you've got some great ideas as to the hotel and incentive reversion. I think that could be explored. As far as the park abutting residential, I think almost all of our parks abut residential. I know we've had problems with folks in Gull Air literally accessing the trail from their backyard through a fence that they really shouldn't have. I would personally love to have a park in my backyard. I don't see the access issue of having a park there as being a problem. And I know we're not asking for a vote now, but I absolutely will support this regardless of whether or not that is changed to retail, because I believe in the success of the entire project. I agree with you that I would have liked to see something retail or restaurant there. I think that that has a kind of a cool factor. Yeah, I think you're right. I loved the sort of ideas we came up with, what was it, 2-3 years ago now, where we thought of, you know, people sitting there at a restaurant watching the fountain, or, you know, watching their kids play while having something to eat. Yeah, but I'm not going to miss this opportunity for 1 or 2 details that I believe the market will work out. I do also believe that this has the potential to activate the opposite side of State Street for a lot of different opportunities.
What I would say to you, that shouldn't be lost on any of us, we are at that point where what we really want is what we should be asking for, not what we'll settle for, because there's certainly other things that I would prefer to see that go back to. I love the idea of having Commerce Street there so that it adds to even more walkability, but I recognize that that's not going to make the economics work on a parking garage, right? So, but we're at the point right now where what's important to us is what we should be asking for. And so, you know, I would suspect that everybody would do such, right? And we're not approving a final plan, but, you know, this is how you get there.
Yeah.
Councilmember Norris.
I actually think you have a very good point. And I'm thinking that maybe, I love that you have retail people that you're going to talk to see what the feasibility is going to be if something could go there. So at least there's room for compromise.
Family in that area, but as you said, you have some good ideas, and if they can come up with a plan to do that, you know, I would be willing to look at that. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Sensing you're ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. All right, very good. All right, item number 4, authorize the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to amend the Town Center Development Code, Article 5, Section 5.2.1, outdoor dining, to provide for a temporary outdoor dining within city-owned on-street parking for a temporary period of time not to exceed 90 days. This is a new agenda item. Any staff presentation on this?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, then there's no question. That's I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Discussion. Well, then I have some.
I mean,
Do you have a comment?
I am really excited about this opportunity to potentially activate something along State Street. We were literally just talking about it. I will not revisit that, but I think this is like a little candle in the wind that we need to wrap our arms around and kind of protect it and let it get going. You know what I mean? Let it get going. I know that this isn't necessarily the way in which we would normally approach it, but we have a situation and an opportunity here that I think presents us something unique, something special. I appreciate the research that went into this by the particular business owner that approached us with this. Some additional information was presented to us tonight. But I see a lot of success with outdoor dining going on in our neighboring cities. I know, like I said, this is not necessarily the way that I would like this to come to us.
Also opened that, and it was a great opportunity. It was a fun place to go, and there was a problem outside. You couldn't go outside and hang out. It was an issue. I think this is a great opportunity for the city of Oldsmar to move forward, to start bringing people together, enjoying the outdoors, and I am really excited about this project, and I think this project is the future right now.
There you go. Comments?
Yes, we had, I think, in the meeting today with the city manager and assistant city manager.
It's a happy place. But could you turn it down, please? All right, go ahead.
Sorry. I think we had a rather productive meeting this morning, kind of discussing the merits of what's been proposed with us, kind of also trying to look at, you know, what else could transpire, probably creating good problems to have in terms of others starting to ask for the same thing, especially if the parcel or the property over by the library gets developed. You might have similar asks for there, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it just introduces more of a walkable area all over. So we went so far as not just talking about this semi-permanent type of setup right now, but saying, what if making
building? I do think a couple of things, and sometimes it's good for us, I think, to look and compare kind of what our neighbors are doing and trying to make things equitable for our businesses here and through that lens, right? And I think that it would be appropriate to make that recommendation instead of it being 90 days, being 120 days. So someone has 4 months, you know, you're going through a lot of work for 3 months, that it be 120. And that way, and also keep in mind, this is really kind of a separate, would be considered a separate vote. You know, in Dunedin, the city of Dunedin has not only gone out and installed those temporary barricades, and you know, I think that as a city, if we're going to try to do this, keep in mind, this to me is like a triple whammy opportunity. One, for the CRA purchasing those kinds of barriers. They would remain ours, right? And to the extent that it could make it not as practical for someone to go do that.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All right, any further discussion?
I just wanted to point out that I echo everything everybody has said. I am totally in favor of this, and I appreciate whoever put the work into the rules on page 35, because there's a lot of answered questions and a lot of, you know, the lighting, the noise, you know, things, you know, it makes it even more attractive for us. So that's what I wanted to say.
Excellent. Discussion, seeing none, since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. I wouldn't, while we're on that subject, because it is an agenda item, wonder if it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to allocate some budget within the CRA to purchase the temporary, what was it called?
The barricades.
Temporary barricade.
I'll make that motion.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
There needs to be some dollar amount. So,
Yeah,
for
how many
example,
are needed?
Dunedin paid $25,000 for their 10 or 15 barricades.
So there might be a bidding.
How about add it to a
if we need
discussion
that
item
many.
for the next council meeting?
Well, I would think that based on the timing of trying to get open, it might be of value. I don't know if staff has done any kind of,
Could we loan them? Do we have any to loan?
I don't know, do we?
We own
Kinda thing.
4 or 5 of them. I don't think it would require something that would ultimately require council approval for us to acquire more. The only question is how soon we could get them here. I think we have enough with what I'm envisioning, that setup being, we're close, but we need probably at least a couple, and I don't know if we could get them in 2 days or take 2 weeks or whatever, but I don't think it would give rise to the dollar amount that would require council approval, and we could find the money in the.
All right, so by consensus, you appreciate that the council.
We'll take care of it.
Outstanding.
Yay.
Very good.
I like it, very good. I like it, I like it. All right, next item on the agenda is a consent docket, which will be announced by the city clerk, Ann Nixon.
Item number 5, accept resignation of Alex Benucci as ex officio teen of the planning board. Item number 6, accept resignation of Gina Rogers Price from the Leisure Services Advisory Board. And item number 7, approve minutes of the February 16, 2021 council meeting.
Thank you. Is there anybody who wishes to pull anything? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion and a second. Comments?
Thank you, everybody, for
Yep.
your
Thank you,
service on
Alex
our
and Gina.
advisory boards. Alex and Gina, thank you.
Remember when Gina Services Board when I was the chair, so I'm actually gonna miss her, and she was one of my leaders at the Centennial, so I'm sorry to see her go.
Yeah, she's done a lot of good stuff. All right, sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the City of Oldsmar. We have no open items. Next will be the city attorney, item number 8. This is a public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the first reading of ordinance 2021-02. I'll read it by title only. Ordinance 2021-02, an ordinance declaring the intention of the City of Oldsmar, Florida to annex certain real property located in Section 22, Township 28 South, Range 16 East, further described as Lot 18, Block 17, map of Section Number 1 West Oldsmar, parcel number 22 28 16 966660 0170180, into the corporate limits of the City of Oldsmar and providing for the effect of this ordinance. That was the first reading of ordinance 2021-02 by title only.
Thank you. Any comments from the city manager?
No, sir.
Is there a staff presentation?
No, sir.
Applicant presentation? Nope. Okay, I will open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this item? Seeing there is none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved?
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion, and I now have a second. Any discussion?
One at a time.
One at a time. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember Knapp? Yes. Vice Mayor Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Sedell?
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 2021-02, annexing 3172 Huron Avenue into the corporate limits of the City of Oldsmar, passes with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Excellent.
All right.
That's all I have.
That's all you got. Excellent. All right, city manager, item 9.
Item 9 is what we call as a Pepper Tree Drive update. Recently, council had suggested that we put this on the agenda and ask staff to perform a study of some traffic issues that have been ongoing in that neighborhood. So I'd like Felicia Donnelly to present the results of the report, and we'll stand ready to answer questions or wait for whatever council would like us to do with it.
Hi, good evening. Felicia Donnelly, Assistant City Manager. So at council request, we took another look at Pepper Tree. And so we asked for directed patrol from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And we looked at Pepper Tree between Bayside Boulevard and Evergreen Drive to determine if there was an existing problem with the roadway conditions. So beginning on January 25th, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office conducted a directed patrol on Pepper Tree, and they witnessed 9 incidents of vehicles not operating within the legal boundaries. 8 citations were issued, but most of them were failures to stop at a stop sign and other secondary violations that weren't associated with speeding. So we were, assessing any roadway condition, particularly speeding. The directed patrol didn't witness any vehicle traveling over 25 miles an hour within the curb, and no speed was determined to be above 30 miles an hour along the roadway corridor itself. They also didn't witness any overtaking or passing while they were on a directed patrol. So they also performed these same directed types of patrols in 2016 between March and May. And at that time, they issued 2 warnings, one for speed and one for failure to stop at a stop sign. The city also performed traffic assessments during the same time period. So between in March of 2016 and March of 2020, we performed a traffic study. So that traffic study indicated that the 85th percentile of the vehicles are traveling under 25 miles an hour. The average speed was about 21 miles an hour, and less than 1% of the cars exceed 30 miles an hour. So there's not a documented speeding issue on Pepper Tree. So while there's not a documented speeding issue, staff has recommended to assist with the visibility of the curve from a driver perspective, that, that 3 things be performed on the roadway. The first would be to install flexible delineators in the right-of-way just west of 1906 Pepper Tree Boulevard, between the sidewalk and the street. So it would be flexible delineators, you all have seen them. You know, they're in the roadway and they have a reflector on the top of them, so that the curb will be more visible. The second recommendation would be to institute no parking signage, and to review where there is presently parking signage and where there's not along that whole stretch of roadway, and to request enforcement of no parking on that road. And then the third thing would be to install reflective pavement markers to help delineate the travel lanes. Those are applied to the pavement. So those are the 3 recommendations from staff to help delineate the curvature of the roadway, even though that there's not a documented speeding issue.
Okay, thank you. This item doesn't require any action.
Correct.
By our council, but I would mention, and I found it interesting, I wasn't aware of this until staff did some research on it. I know one of the questions that have come from some of the citizens over there is whether or not it would make sense to lower the speed limit. And we learned that after you lower the speed limit to a certain amount, and what was that speed limit?
20.
To 20.
To 20. That it's no longer a road that our law enforcement, the county in particular, Sheriff's Department, can provide any law enforcement to that, right? They can't enforce a 20, yeah, so it has an opposite effect, which is kind of odd, but I guess it's understandable. So I just wanted to make a point of mentioning that so that folks are aware of that.
If I might, we did a lot of going back and forth with the SO on that issue.
Right.
The key feature to why it practically couldn't be done is that it would require a speed study from an engineering group to then get approved by the county before they would be willing to enforce it. So the additional information that we found out was, it's not that there's no circumstance that they could enforce it legally, it's that it would require a speed study, not a speed patrol, which would be contracted with an engineering firm, then have to be approved by the county in order for them to be directed to then enforce it. Well, since our speed detail seems to suggest that speeding is not the worst of why things are problematic over there, that it wouldn't get approved. That's the point. But there was I found out one additional piece, that it's not under any circumstance, because we faced it in a couple of other places.
Over in Golair.
Golair was one of them, where they said, sorry, if it's 20, we can't enforce it. But the point was, I think, at least several of the citizens wanted that reduced, and as you pointed out, it would be in effect, it would work against them, because if it can't be enforced, well, you're worse off than you were if it's at 25 when there's no question it can be enforced.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, any questions?
I just have one comment.
Go right ahead.
Mayor, I'm there every day, 3-4 times a day on Pepper Tree. I don't see really anyone speeding at all. But I did mention in my meeting with Al and Felicia that I feel we do need to actually do the parking signs, because some of those parking signs are very small, outdated, old, and I don't think people see them. And that is the biggest problem with Pepper Tree, is people parking on there, not seeing those signs. So that's the biggest issue. But other than that, I don't really see anybody speeding ever since they put in the speed bumps.
All right, very good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Item 10,
Sorry, I was just gonna make one comment.
go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank staff and the Sheriff's Office for assisting us in conducting these patrols and bringing back this information to us. I appreciate the recommendations. That was all. Thank you.
Item 10 is a request with council to approve the special event application fee waiver request for the annual Honor Our Heroes Memorial 5K Run to be held on Saturday, May 29th, 2021. On Saturday, May 29th, Oldsmar Cares Incorporated will host the annual Honor Our Heroes Memorial Run in Oldsmar. Oldsmar Cares is a valued civic organization that has provided support to the local community by funding programs such as the stopgap rent and utility assistance, health screenings, financial assistance programs, employment services, a free food pantry, and a free clothes closet to those in need throughout the greater Oldsmar areas. Profits from this race will be utilized by the Augusta waiver of fees in the amount of $2,840, and in accordance with the City of Oldsmar Special Event Guide, the above organization is requesting that the city waive the fees associated with this event, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Who's running with me?
Woohoo! Are you running?
races you ever ran, right?
Okay, you,
Hey, I
all
haven't
three,
played hockey.
all
I
three
can
of you
run.
guys are running?
Let's
I can
do it.
run, I can do it.
Okay, when you run by my house, I'll give you water.
I'm going to be right behind you in the golf cart. All
there
right,
still
since you're
spots
ready to
available?
vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes.
Did you
Item
run?
11.
Really?
Yeah?
Item 11 is adopt resolution 2021-05, amending residential solid waste collection rates. At the July 28th, 2020 City Council Budget Work Session, staff presented a recommendation to council for a residential solid waste rate increase at that time. This recommendation was based on several factors, including recent county disposal rate increases, which are scheduled to be 6% annually for the next 2 years, and they began in 2019 for this year, dramatic changes to the worldwide recycling industry, and the need to prepare for the expiration of the city's existing franchise agreement, which will happen this year at 9/30/2021. At the work session, council approved a $2 per month increase conceptually, which staff incorporated into the fiscal year 2021 budget, planning for a mid-year implementation. Since the beginning of the fiscal year, city management has been in discussions with the current contract hauler, Republic Services, in hopes of reaching an extension to the existing solid waste collection agreement. However, that was not possible. We're asking for an approval on an increase to the residential rate only at this time in an attempt to mitigate the severity of what likely will be required once we do the bid for the upcoming year. And as you can see from the attached comparative rates, which are in the agenda, we are still very competitive among area utilities in our pricing for related services. I'll read the resolution by title only. Resolution 2021-05, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending the solid waste fee in accordance with the ordinances of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, and providing for an effective date hereof. Mayor, that concludes the reading of Resolution 2021-05.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Do I have discussion? To the maker of the motion?
Yes, I would like to say something, Mayor. I'm a little concerned. I talked with Al in my meeting with Felicia, and I'm concerned about the increase of these rates that are going to happen. Al mentioned it might have to be up to $10 increase when we go to bid. Mayor, I have a question. Should we maybe raise it from 2 maybe to 5 just to be ready for that increase for our residents?
Well, I mean, that, the motion was for 2, and there's probably going to be some discussion on that. But I would, if you're asking my opinion, I would say no, because it's not actually been increased yet, right? So I think this is kind of taking some vision ahead of time, anticipating, and we all have.
And so our rates have been in place, but we know that it's coming. Just voting for this now is a courageous, good thing to do, even though it's gonna hurt because it's $2. And hopefully, maybe it won't be as bad as we think, but it seems like it's gonna not be, yeah. But when you compare it, like you said, when we compare it to the other cities, we're right in there as well. So I unfortunately do believe that this is a necessary vote.
Councilmember Knapp?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it should be of no surprise to anybody. I think this is one way to soften the blow. There may be other means that we can explore in terms of just communication and information to let, obviously we don't know the exact number or the answer, but some means to prepare people instead of it being kind of a surprise when they open up the next month's utility bill.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Just a thought.
That's
I
a
don't know
good
if it's an
idea.
insert or what type of thing, even before this goes into effect potentially, of what's happening now or why, and then what's still possible to come. So just a thought.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. It's my understanding that there are going to be some more incremental increases on our way up to what is likely going to be the ballpark number. But I am not optimistic. You know, the comparison chart is helpful to see that we're, you know, in there for the benefit of those who don't have it in front of them. Our solid waste fee is currently $18. We don't break out the recycling fees. Other cities are as high as, you know, $29 in Reddington Shores, $27 in Indian Rocks Beach, $29 in Clearwater with a separated recycling fee of $3.03. A lot of people might remember about a year or so ago, Safety Harbor, to deal with this issue, suddenly decided, okay, we're not going to recycle anymore, and then there was a big uproar, and so then they reinstituted the recycling. It's a really tough issue. I think this is an unfortunate reality for everyone, every city in the United States, quite honestly. As the cover memo pointed out, the dramatic changes to worldwide recycling. So it's unfortunate, but we need to do this in an incremental way to soften the blow as much as possible. And I agree with Councilmember Knapp's suggestion to somehow notify people that this is coming and there is not a whole lot we can do about it.
Very good. Okay, I did have a question. I know that it's anticipated that the county's disposal rate is going to go up by 6% annually for 3 years. Is that compounded each year?
Yeah, and
So it's not 6% a year over the next 3 years. It's 6% per year, so it is compounded.
Mayor, the tonnage rate for tear at Pinellas County has been $37.50 for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere last year, prior to the beginning of their fiscal, they did a study and realized that they thought their reserves were horribly underfunded because now the waste energy plant needed a lot of repair. So in order to try and get ahead of that, with the task force, with some county residents of which we participated, they decided starting October 1, 2019, that they were going to increase for 3 years, 6% to that fee. So the $37.50 went up by 6%. That's what we're going through now, and it will for another 2 years. And they're not even committing that they're not done. They're just saying, we're going to commit with our hauler that we were getting kind of a wonderful benefit out of that won't be a benefit anymore, even if we stay with our hauler, because of that fee increase. It affects more of the commercial rate category, but it does affect us.
Got it. The question I have, I mean, I understand, I mean, we're in a kind of a no-win situation here, or we will be, I should say, this is more accurate. And I almost wonder, because that enterprise fund's in pretty good shape. I mean, it's not, it's in good shape. And so is the thought process, the additional, I think it was somewhere around 54,000 that would anticipate an additional revenue with the $2, okay. So is the thought process that 54,000 would be utilized, since there's not an additional expense today, right? That would somehow be utilized in a future year, let's just say, if we got hit with a crazy amount increase from all of the haulers that bid on it, that we utilize that
To be down, because I have a little bit of room right now before we're no longer making a profit at all. The fund has no capital assets. In a sense, that's a good thing because we have a contract with a hauler, and in another sense, it's a bad thing. But from the standpoint of the rates, we're just trying to get ahead of it because, to Councilmember Siraki's point, we can't say exactly what it's going to be, but I can tell you from, you've heard me bark up this line for over 2 years, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and some of the world events as it relates to recycling is beyond, goes beyond what's happening in the county.
Yeah.
And you know, and so everybody knows, I mean, this is being an enterprise fund. And so what that means essentially, it's funded by user fees is the most cleanest way to look at it. So your property taxes don't subsidize that fund. If you are a subscriber of that service, think of it, it has to operate like a business. So if our expenses go up, we don't subsidize it with property tax dollars. The users have to pay whatever the increase is. It's got to operate, it can't operate at a loss. That's a statute within the state. So I just thought I'd mention that because that's important to know.
Yes.
All right, so any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember Knapp?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Sedell?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-7, revising the budget for whoa. I'm ahead, aren't I? Caught me. Resolution 2021-05, amending the solid waste fee in accordance with the ordinances of the City of Oldsmar is adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Very good, thank you.
Mayor, item 12 is adopt resolution 2021-07, revising the budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. Attached is resolution 2021-07, which is a revision of the annual budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. The general fund and water sewer operating fund require adjustment this time. I'd like to read the resolution by title only. Resolution 2021-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, revising the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020 and ending.
Roll call it is. Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember Knapp?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Sedell?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-7, revising the budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 is adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Excellent. Item 13.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 13 is request council approval to waive bid requirements and award McKimmon Creed Incorporated the ROWTP software and computer upgrades work for the city's reverse osmosis water treatment plant, also known as ROWTP, under the same pricing terms and conditions as the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida. Request for proposal number RFP-180089-P-RS on piggyback form 18-021. McKimmon Creed is Oldsmar's current ROWTP consultant for control, telemetry, and SCADA integration as needed. There was money in the budget this year for a SCADA upgrade, which we're now want to proceed with. Funding will be available in the fiscal year 2021 capital budget in Fund 401 with the inclusion of an additional $20,000, which was just approved in the prior agenda item. And the project cost will be approximately $65,000, and staff recommends approval.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item 14.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14 is adopt resolution 2021-08, reissuing the loan agreement with Synovus Bank to partially finance the Harbor Palms infrastructure project. At the March 5th, 2019 council meeting, council adopted resolution 2019-04, which authorized a $6 million loan agreement with Synovus Bank to fund the first 2 phases of the Harbor Palms infrastructure improvement project. The provisions of this loan included a 2.81% interest rate and a construction draw schedule with a requirement to receive all funds by March 11th, 2021. Since this loan was issued, interest rates have lowered again, and the construction timeline for phase 2 has been refined. In order to address both issues, the city's financial advisor, Public Financial Management, requested that Synovus reconsider the terms of the loan. The reissued loan will extend the draw period by another 12 months to allow for additional construction time and also lower the interest rate to 1.93%. The loan will retain the same maturity date of October 1, 2033, and will result in about $30,000 per year of savings. I'd like to read the resolution by title only. Resolution 2021-08, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, authorizing the issuance of a non-ad valorem refunding revenue note, Series 2021 of the city, in the principal amount of not to exceed $6 million, together with other legally available funds of the city to finance the cost of various capital infrastructure improvement projects within the city limits of the city, including without limitation, new sidewalks and curbing, roadway pavement, and drainage structure upgrades in the Harbor Palm subdivision. 2, refund the city's outstanding non-ad valorem revenue note, Series 2019. And 3, pay associated transactional costs, providing that the note shall be a limited obligation of the city, payable from non-ad valorem revenues, budgeted and appropriated as provided herein, providing for the rights, securities, and remedies for the owner of the note, designating the note as a qualified tax-exempt obligation within the meaning of the Internal Revenue Code, making certain covenants and agreements in connection therewith, and providing for an effective date. Mayor, that concludes the reading of Resolution 2021-08.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And I have a second. Discussion.
Another,
It's a no-brainer.
yeah, another 30 grand.
Save $30,000?
1.93.
Yeah, good work.
Good job.
Good
Excellent
work,
work,
once again.
Cindy.
All right, roll call, please. Attention, you ready to vote? Roll call.
Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember Knapp?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-08, reissuing a loan agreement with Synovus Bank to partially finance the Harbor Palms infrastructure project is adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Excellent. City Manager, got anything else for us?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, City Clerk, item 15.
Yes, item 15, consider adding 2 alternate positions to Leisure Services Advisory Board. Leisure Services Advisory Board requests City Council add 2 alternate board member positions. The board's composition is 7 regular members and no alternates. Recently, there was 1 position forfeited for attendance and a 2nd position opened due to relocation or resignation. There are currently 5 regular members who will interview at least 7 applicants for the 2 vacancies in May. The board is requesting council change the composition to be 7 regular members and 2 alternate members. Board discussion included having alternates would help ensure quorum for meetings. Additionally, alternate members would help ensure a full number of regular members are in place, as alternate members could transition to regular members when regular members' seats can become open. This is especially beneficial as the board meets 4 times per year. This board has had a history of composition changes. It became large and unwieldy with too many personalities in conflict when the Parks and Recreation Board absorbed additional members from the dissolved Cultural Affairs Advisory Board. In an effort to address the conflict of the board and regain control, the board has been systematically reduced through attrition to 7 regular members. The board has recently enjoyed less conflict in its meeting, and so 7 appears to be a good overall number. The board had no quorum for its August 2020 meeting. Additionally, there has been a fair amount of turnover in the past couple of years. The city clerk agrees that alternate members can help avoid situations of no quorum and help provide a learning platform for new board members. City clerk recommends City Council authorize the city attorney to prepare a resolution, to prepare a resolution changing the board composition to 5 full-time members and 2 alternates. The transition would be smooth, as alternates scheduled for board interviews in May would then be for the 2 new alternate positions.
Very good. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion.
Let me go first.
Right, you made the motion.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. I just want to say that as the chairman of this board, I totally agree with this, because this is a great educational opportunity for residents to be involved in our city. So I understand it's moving to 5 plus 2, so they can have quorum. I think that's perfect.
Very good. Councilmember Norris?
I agree. I see that they're requesting 7 plus 2, but I have total faith in the city clerk's recommendation, and it only meets 4 times a year. So, I mean, you should be able to make 4 meetings a year to make a quorum. So, I
City
agree.
Clerk?
We just want to clarify that the motion Mr. Saraki, Councilmember Saraki is making is it for 5?
5 members,
with
2 alternates.
2 alternates.
Correct, and that's my second. So, yes.
Councilmember Knapp?
So just to be clear then, is that they requested staying at 7, but the recommendation is to go to 5 plus 2 alternates, correct?
Yes, the board requested to have 7 regular members and 2 alternates, and my recommendation is to have 5 regular members and 2 alternates.
Understood.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
I appreciate the city clerk's recommendation. I previously served on this board. I think it would be a smooth transition to 2 alternate that could be interviewed in May for those 2 positions. And it does help to have alternates in the event that you cannot make a quorum. So I would support the motion to authorize the city attorney to prepare a resolution.
There are a few real action items considered by the board, 2 or less per year. The business of the board is regularly conducted in less than an hour and a half, and often less than an hour. Since 2018, if a board member misses more than 1 meeting in a 12-month period, then the seat is automatically vacated. The board is effectively required to attend 75% of its meetings, despite the regular meeting schedule, 2nd Monday of February, May, August, and November at the same time and place, despite the presentation of the next year's schedule at the November meeting every year, and despite the next meeting date noted on every agenda. The board has lost several members due to the attendance requirement. In 2019, the board lost 3 members, and in 2020, the board lost 2 more members. In August 2020, the board had no quorum for its meeting. The city clerk recommends no changes to meeting frequency, as adding meetings could increase the board's instability.
Very good. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve. There'll be
To
no
approve the,
changes. There'll be no changes. It'll be 4 meetings.
Okay, so then there's no action necessary.
Right.
All right, the only question I would ask, and it's something for the council to talk about maybe for a minute. It seems to me, and I understand with only 4 meetings, if you miss one, you've immediately missed 25%, right? But it also seems that perhaps saying you miss one meeting, let's just say it happens to fall on some event that's, unavoidable or on emergency or something like that, that you might have somebody who's been on that board for a considerable amount of time, it just so happens, and boom, they're automatically off. I don't think that that's the intent of that, for it to be that harsh. But when we went from multiple meetings down to 4, it naturally happened because of this percentage requirement. And so there's a part of me that wonders whether it doesn't make some sense to have some discussion that maybe changes that language in the absentee area to say that you cannot miss more than one, if you miss more than one meeting in a 12-month period. That would allow for, if somebody missed one meeting, they're not automatically off. But if they did miss 2 within 12 months, then they would be off.
But Mayor, that's the current wording. They're allowed to miss 1 if they miss 2 in a 12-month period.
Oh, then I misunderstood you, okay.
Okay, that
All right,
makes more
that
sense.
makes a-
That makes more sense.
All right, I thought you had said something different, but very good.
Misstated.
All right, any other discussion? All right, there's no action required on this. Anything else, City Clerk?
Oh, I had plenty tonight. Thank you.
You had a lot, huh?
I'm done.
All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of the tentative agenda for March 16th, 2021. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the tentative agenda? All right, this time the chair will entertain a motion to approve the tentative agenda as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Second, or if I was
Any
the motion?
discussion?
Last motion.
Since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Council comments, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank you, actually, for the opportunity to attend the Quilts of Valor ceremony last weekend on Saturday at noon at Veterans Memorial Park. What an incredible event. This group of volunteers, they take a name, sometimes little more than a name, from someone who is a family member of a veteran, maybe it's the veteran themselves, and they make quilts, literal quilts, gorgeous. Honestly, they're pieces of artwork, and they painstakingly construct these quilts that are literally layered in meaning, in pictures, in stitches, flags, eagles, stars, and they make this beautiful piece of art. And then on Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend the ceremony where at this particular event this year, 14 of those quilts were literally wrapped around veterans from Oldsmar. And it was so moving to hear the speaker. I mean, this is 14 quilts, this particular ceremony, but they have created by hand, I think it was 250 to 275,000 quilts of Valor has. Completely volunteer. They passed the hat at the ceremony. It was so moving. It was and there honestly were pieces of art. I cannot thank you enough for the opportunity to welcome them to our beautiful park on behalf of the city and the council and staff. It was a fabulous event. Channel 10 was there. And I posted the link on Facebook and whatnot, but you can check out Channel 10 News if you want to see a video of these folks. Really incredible. Leadership analysis finally starting next week on a modified kind of approach where I believe we'll be heading over to Dunedin Country Club for presentations instead of going to locations around the county. I believe the presentations are coming to us. So more on that. And then the League of Cities, the Florida League of Cities, took a survey about whether or not folks would be interested in attending EMO 2, which is the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials, the second level of it, in person. And I responded that I would be interested in attending. It's something that I could drive to. It's over in Daytona Beach in April. So I responded affirmatively. And apparently enough folks did that they did decide to open up registration for it. And I know Dan will be so excited to learn that I will be attending EMO 2 in April.
Love it.
So one downside, it is currently scheduled to occur on the weekend of Oldsmar Days. One drawback. But if there is an opportunity to pour beer, I should be back by Sunday. I don't know if we're gonna be doing that, but
That's a good question. I don't know.
to the
either.
extent that COVID allows us to conduct Oldsmar Days as we normally would, I do hope to still participate in some capacity. Looking forward to the teen focus group this weekend for yet another reason now that I know what wheeling is. I was certainly concerned about it. I appreciate our citizens always keeping us in the loop on what's actually going on out there. You know, we all think we know what's going on in our community, and then I learned something new every meeting, every time. So thank you. I really appreciate tonight's meeting. Good discussion.
Very good. Councilmember Nat?
Thank you, Mayor.
I forgot one thing.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, are we gonna?
yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank Councilmember Norris for her service on this council. I know there's gonna be a minute later, but in front of everybody, I wanted to thank Councilmember Norris for her service on this chamber. Her work is well documented, especially on behalf of our veterans, the arts community, the environment, the sustainability of this community.
I said I wasn't gonna cry.
I don't want to make you cry, but I can't not say nothing, and I can't save it for when it's just you and I. I am looking forward to the opportunity to talk to you without the premise of the Sunshine Law. That would be interesting, but really appreciate the opportunity to work with you. Thank you for your service on this board.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Nat.
Ready?
We're ready.
That's okay.
It's good.
First off, I would just like to kind of echo what was said by the mayor at the beginning and extend my condolences again to the family and really all of the sheriff's office for Deputy Magley. I drove up East Lake Road on Sunday past where things took place, and still seeing tire tracks carved in the median was kind of bone chilling. I believe, Dan, did you attend the ceremony as well as Al?
Yeah.
Seeing the videos of that was really special. I mean, just the amount of outpouring and support extended for him was, it was really touching. Anyways, secondly, obviously, the vice mayor just touched on it, but as of next meeting, we'll have a slightly new council up here. I do want to extend, say good luck to both of the candidates in the audience. I'm sure you're eager to get to next Tuesday and breathe a big sigh of relief, as being the most recent one that had that opportunity to do so. Thirdly, Linda, again, as the vice mayor said, you've really shown over the years, and I think it goes without saying that the things you are passionate about has grown on the others that are up here. So there will still be voices for what's most important to you. And I know you know that.
Thank you.
And then finally, because one thing has to top that, it is my mother's birthday. So if you're not watching now live, Mom, happy birthday. And if not, you better watch till the end, because otherwise you won't hear it. That's all.
Very
Mayor.
good.
Thank you.
Very good. Happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Councilmember Shraki.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple things. And how was your vacation? You have fun?
I did. I saw all my kids, and
Good.
I got one set left to see, and it was good because, the weather was horrible. It was 17 degrees when we drove up there, which I'm a Floridian guy, but we stayed true and did not cancel. They were like, "Are you still coming? Are you still coming?" There's not a city thing, and so I said, no, not this time.
The reason why I asked is I just wanted to tell you do a fantastic job as our mayor, and you needed some time away with family.
Well, thank you.
And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to honoring the life and the legacy of Deputy Michael Magley. I was able to go with Al and Felicia. It was a truly moving funeral. And Tom, again, you hit on out of the ballpark with your prayer today at the meeting, and I wanted to thank you for that. It was something that I've never witnessed in my life. It was very, very touching. The rideless horse really got me. The 21 gun salute and the missing man flyover. Those are just a couple of things. The changing of the guard at the casket was really touching during the entire ceremony, and the amount of people that were there to celebrate his life was pretty amazing. That's all I wanted to say, Mayor. Thank you for that. I appreciate you letting me be the voice of Oldsmar at that meeting, at that funeral. Linda, I just want to say thank you for all you've done for the city. Honestly, you have touched me with the arts. My wife is very involved in the arts, and you've done a great job. And I just want to say thank you for being next to me.
And you're going to join the auxiliary.
Yeah, well, I'm working on it. All right, and then last, I want to say good luck to Pam. I want to say good luck to Steve. I mean, I wish you guys the best of luck, and I look forward to working with either one of you up here. It's a great opportunity. It's an exciting thing for both of you guys. It really is to go through that election and do that, and I'm proud of both of you. I want to just say that. Next Tuesday night is my 30th wedding anniversary, so I'm going out to dinner, so when you guys know who wins, I'll probably text you or something, but I just want to say good luck. And just so you know, my wife is telling everybody she's 14 when she married me, so just so you know. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
That's awkward if you think about it.
I know. That's what she's telling everybody.
Follow that.
All right, I'm gonna do something a little, I'm gonna take a little prerogative as chair. I'm gonna cover a couple of comments, and I'm gonna allow our council member Norris to close the show tonight. So business first. I do have a few items. I'm gonna ask the city manager if he could give us a brief update on the BMX track and maybe the pier for the public.
Yeah, BMX, there was a meeting today with the contractor in the city. We're still on schedule to issue notice to proceed on March 16th. You will probably see the demo start in May or June, and the initial construction should start in August. So we're on schedule, but Kokalakis did tell us that they were having some challenges with some work they were doing in Dallas because of the weather. So while we thought we might have had a chance to get started sooner, that didn't materialize as quickly as we'd hoped. But schedule still says the notice to proceed to be issued on March 16th, so we're still on schedule. It's a 330-day contract. We hope it won't take that long, obviously.
Right. Pier?
The pier, we've received that engineering report. And maybe Chip, you want to address this? Because I know we're close to being able to open a portion of it, but Chip may know more of the specifics. Can you give council an update?
Good evening. So yes, Al's right. We received the report last week, and we were informed that there's some good news about the pier, is that the superstructure from the entrance to the pier just down to the second shelter is okay. So the one recommendation we received was that we needed to remove the first shelter because there was some damage actually it wasn't damage from the storm, it was just damage over time to the supports underneath. So staff was able to remove that today, and we have reopened the pier. We have that area blocked off until we do a little bit more work to it where the benches are on the first side, and at a later point in time, we'll remove the second shelter as well.
When you say we've opened the pier, the entire pier?
No, just down to the end cap is what we call it, the T section.
Okay.
Where the damage is.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chip.
When do we know when we might have the rest of it done, or where we're at schedule-wise?
We received the report back from the engineer, so we'll use that information to go out to bid for quotes and get the estimates on what it will take.
Just for the benefit, if you know it off the top of your head, I'm sure somebody here does, but what's the typical timeline we give when we go through the procurement process that we're required to do?
Well, it depends on the price, obviously, and since insurance is involved in this one, There's a whole nother layer of people we have to please, so it would be difficult to nail that down. But in particular, if it has to come to you, obviously, we have to have a bid or piggyback something. So the engineering report helped us establish what the cost of the repair might be, but we got to go find out if somebody's willing to do it for that. Depending on that level, it has to come to you. So, you know, we've been navigating this process since the storm, and I don't think we've dropped the ball in terms of letting it sit around, but with all the things we discovered were wrong, the insurance company has to come out with adjusters to take a look at it. Then we have the engineering report, which we only just got this week. So, I mean, it might be a little too dangerous to say 60 or 90 days. The real answer is it depends.
Okay, well, and my reason for asking that is because we're getting asked, of course, our citizens want to know what's going on. And so I think it's important for everyone to understand the process that we have to go through. And that's just kind of where we're at. The next item I have, I want to thank the Vice Mayor for filling in. She mentioned about the Quilt for Valor. I appreciate that. You know, it's funny, it's the longest stretch of time I've been gone as mayor. And it's nice to know, though, that when there's something that's important, and I want to thank Councilmember Saraki for representing this council. It's such an important event, that we have the quality and caliber of leadership who can go and step up with very little notice and do an outstanding job. So I am grateful as your mayor, I can tell you that. I'm gonna skip that. Let's see, I did want to just comment briefly. It's a tragic loss when we have a deputy that we lose in this county, whether they're assigned to Oldsmar or not, they are one of our deputies. And so we did express to the sheriff our condolences. I'm going to try to brainstorm a little with the chamber. As you all know, we have Oldsmar days that we're going to finally be able to do something and see if there's something that we as a community can't do and come from Oldsmar. So stay tuned to that. We'll ask everybody to step up and go above and beyond when the time comes. All right, what else do I have on my agenda? So, Councilmember Norris, this being your last meeting, you know, you've made a huge impact on this city.
Thank you.
And to you, and I think the city should be, that you did honor that, and you showed up to meetings prepared, as all of us are expected to, and made good decisions for the city in that timeline. But you know, your service to the city goes way beyond any one event that was not a good one, right? I mean, you know, your years of service to the city are well documented. All of us up here have made a comment, or when you think of art, there's been one main cheerleader up here. You know, we used to joke, I would sit, if you're facing this way, I used to sit on the far right, and she sat on the far left when Beavis was mayor, and I thought, how appropriate is that? But it was always never evident because we always worked together on everything. You know, I mean, it just didn't matter. There were things that I always admired that you were much better at than I was. And I would say to you, I don't know, what's Nora's thing? Because, you know, and that to me is when someone is giving for their community. It's not a selfishness. It's one of those things of, you know, you make a living, what was it Churchill said? You make a living based on what you get, but you create a life based on what you give.
Yep, that was him.
And so, you know, you have given. And so for that, my friend, I will say thank you as a citizen, and certainly someone who has served with you, and as your mayor. And I wish you the best of luck and most success. You certainly have earned it. And with that, I'm going to make myself cry, I think.
I think you'd be the one making me cry.
And I am going to turn it over to you to close the meeting.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you all. I'm not gonna put my mask on because I want to be clear. I didn't write any big speech or anything because you guys know when I read a speech I shake and I get all nervous and everything. So I just want to talk from the heart. And the number I do definitely want to say condolences to Deputy Magley. That was the first line of duty loss in the history of Pinellas County Sheriff, and it's tragic. And thank you, Dan. 10 years ago, I went to the double. I think it was Kovac and Curtis and Kovac, the two deputies that were, or the two police officers that were killed in Tampa, and it changed my life. The last call was what really got me, but yeah, so I've got to say that, and thank you for that prayer, Tom. And I just want to end on gratitude. I want to end on all of the people that I've worked with. I mean, Nan and Cindy and Chip and the staff. The staff does so much of the work. I mean, we make decisions, but the staff does the work, and it's really been an honor. It's been 8 years. I served for 8 years, and it has been an honor, and I'm looking forward to my future. I start the Recovery Coach Academy at the end of March. I graduate at the end of August, and then I have to go through a lot of things to be state certified. It's easier to get nationally certified than it is to get state certified because Florida is the #1 state for recovery. So becoming a mental health advocate, I believe, is I know in my heart that is where God is leading me, and I'm not gonna cry because of this being my last meeting, because I see my future as still being able to help and still being an open advocate. So all that being said, Jeff has covered Oldsmar, and he has been a great friend to me. He brought me this today. This didn't run in Oldsmar. It's Big Nasty, my brother, and me at Super Bowl 37, and it only ran in Clearwater, and he brought it for me today. And he's always been a great friend to Oldsmar and a great friend to me. Okay, now you guys all see little gifts in front of you. Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't get everybody a gift. Oh, and I do want to say good luck. I don't want to say good luck, just whoever, it's next, either of y'all are going to be great up here, and I know that you're both wonderful people, and I know that you will carry on and be a team with the people up here, and so I'll be here when one of you wins. Okay, so the gifts. Okay, do you guys think you're going to forget about me? You might, but you might not. Everyone has a Super Bowl 55 pin.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, and everybody has a Support Your Troops pin. Okay, so you can wear that to all military functions, two of things that make my heart beat, art and, the Bucks and veterans. Now, the third item in your little bag is individually chosen for each of you. It is a miniature masterpiece. They span from I actually was an art major in college, one of my majors, but I had to bring a cheat sheet because I don't remember all of this. They span from the 15th century to the 20th century. So Dan has Renoir's, Luncheon at the Boating Party, okay? Renoir, Renoir painted everyday scenes. And we all know how much Dan likes to eat.
That's true.
And the nice little thing about, a little detail about Luncheon at the Boating Party is there's a woman that played a part in sitting for it that ended up becoming his wife, and you have such a lovely wife. I'm gonna end on you, Mayor, okay? Andrew's got Van Gogh, okay? Renoir is 19th century, this is what I don't remember, 1882, okay? Andrew, you got Van Gogh Sunflowers, another 19th century piece, okay? The significance to Van Gogh, this is Vincent Van Gogh scarf, okay? So it's got a whole theme going on here. Okay, the significance to Vincent Van Gogh when he painted sunflowers was, first he wanted to show that you could paint one painting with 3 different shades of yellow, but that's not what is cool. What's cool is his best friend was Paul Gauguin, who was another impressionist, and sunflowers indicated gratitude. And for you, I'm so grateful for our friendship, and I'm grateful for being honorary aunt to LJ. And happy birthday, Sandy. So that's the significance of your sunflowers.
Thank you.
Katie, okay, Katie. Okay, it's tough being a woman in a man's world, isn't it?
This is awesome.
When the Impressionist movement started, it was in Europe. She's an American Impressionist artist that is well known. So she's the only American and she's the only woman. So I wanted to honor you for being.
2 little kids.
And 2 kids on the beach, her kids on the beach. So that's why I chose that one. Okay, this one I have to cheat on because Al's, Kathy got Angel First Kiss. Your grandbabies, yours, that could be either way. That could be your grandbabies, that could be you and Steve. I just immediately thought of you when when I was choosing everything and I saw that one. And actually the artist on that one, I'm gonna say that I don't remember, but I have it written down and it is Bigaro, okay? And that's also 19th century. And easy, Leonardo da Vinci, the Mona Lisa. I knew I should have probably practiced this one because I knew this one could kind of get weird. I chose that one for you for the reasons of Oldsmar, farming community, starting out farming community, and for you to continue to go on your vacations because if you don't, that's what you're gonna look like, okay?
I'll still be holding the pitchfork.
Right, so yours.
Thank you.
And yeah, yours was fun for me. So I think I've covered everything. I don't know if I did or not. I'm just so grateful for all the years that I've been able to serve the citizens of Oldsmar. And obviously I have not been perfect. And it's been an honor and a pleasure and a privilege. And every citizen that called, every email that I got, all of it. And the veterans and the art and the trees and everything. I'm not gonna cry. I am gonna look forward to the service of one of these fine individuals in this seat. So thank you, Mayor, thank you, Council, thank you, Al, everyone, thank you.
Very good, very good. All right, last thing I have, remember, vote. Next Tuesday, final day. If you haven't voted yet, please get out and vote. These 2 folks have worked very hard, and they're both really out earning your vote. And so good luck to both of you. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
My last motion.
We're adjourned.